Kellum, the voice of the Rebels, joining us in Hoover, Alabama. I want you to tell a story to start things off because this is a late game tonight. I teased this earlier.
Might be really late.
You played Ole Miss basketball played a game. I think it was in Hawaii, and it was really late at night.
Right.
Stan Sandroni was still working with you, and you guys made some sort of joke. I remember this because I was listening at the time. Oh, I bet nobody's still listening at this point.
Sean Toohey had a commercial break.
Okay.
He was it was Stan and Sean and me. So we're in Hawaii, and this game's at 1 o'clock in the morning. What was it that? It's really late. But anyway, Sean made comments, nobody's listening to us this late. I said, oh, yeah, they are. I promise you they are. And so back then, we had this telephone with a number for a backup. Yep. I said, I tell you what, I'll give that number out, and you sit there and answer it. Go ahead. Toohey said, go ahead. So I said, hey, we're having a great time here in Hawaii, yada, yada. It's getting late back in Mississippi. If you're listening to this game, here's a number you can call and talk directly to Sean Toohey. And the phone rang off the wall. He was so mad. He's like, I can't believe this.
People stayed up for this.
He's constantly answered the phone. So hey, we got passionate fans in the state of Mississippi. That's for sure.
If you had done that these days with Twitter, he'd still be answering the phone right now.
No doubt. No doubt.
You don't give out your cell number yet.
No.
We need to do that when he's
That's
calling.
Probably pre-cell phone.
So,
yeah. Obviously, this is part of it, right, at the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
You have weather delays. We've seen years where entire days were washed out. I've gotten one game in tonight. The SEC told me earlier there's not an official, drop dead, you can't start a game after this.
Oh, my.
What should that time be?
I'm getting older, so about 10:45.
I was told 10:45 is the latest
I thought there was a rule
started.
at one point that was at midnight, but maybe that wasn't for this. It maybe could have been.
That may be
something
regular
else.
season.
we just got a tweet here from Kendall Rogers that said expect Florida, South Carolina to start around 6:45.
Yeah, we were told 6:30 in the other booth.
Okay.
All right. So
I stole that from a significant person.
That gives you the opportunity, possibly, if things go well,
but the third
9:30,
game,
10 o'clock.
Yeah, the third game's going to be extremely. We'll be okay, but if they do try to play the fourth game is going to be.
It's already been moved.
Oh, they've already moved. Okay, I didn't know that. I haven't. So you've heard something. I've heard something.
Yeah.
So fourth game's going to be when? Tomorrow morning.
Game 4 will not be played tonight. It has been moved to tomorrow, May 25th, at a time TBD.
Oh, it should be like 8, though, right?
Yeah, to me, you would think.
It's got to be early.
Get a little Chick-fil-A biscuit going. And
Yeah.
Be good to go.
Well, and I guess what I would argue is if you're trying to get – this is a mess already. If you're trying to get 3 in, what difference does it make if you play at 10 or 11:30?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
It's better than playing at 8 in the morning. And
We've just gone from being excited about being in the 4:30 game to now realizing we're in the last game.
Yeah. And maybe a later start than the last game would have been.
Yeah. At least your show ends hard at 6, right?
Yeah, look, Ole Miss versus Vanderbilt. Buddy, I'm going to be in the car at 6:01. I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I don't even care.
You're going to listen to us on the app or anything?
You know what? I'll just keep up on Twitter.
Okay. All right.
There you go. I don't know that you could get the pitch-by-pitch play-by-play on Twitter.
I'll bring the live stats up. I know how to do that.
Okay.
So there you go.
All of that said,
you can have the Whistler at midnight.
Oh, my gosh, I know it. That's why you won't fall asleep, because he'll be here.
Yeah. Pretty important game tonight.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of iffiness about are you in if you lose. If you win, then you feel like you're in. But who knows? I mean, it's one of those things, if Alabama makes a run now, can get kind of scary for both of these. I think Vanderbilt's in a safer spot than Ole Miss maybe because of their RPI and all. But who knows? It's an important game. And, I went back and counted, guys. We have played 16 games in this event the last 3 times we've been here. 6, 5, and 5, which is a ton of games. So we've had some success to get pretty far in the event. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we won the championship the one year too, which is really, really cool. But we've played a bunch of games at this event. We've kind of figured out a way to kind of move along. But day one, anybody goes, they're pitching a great kid. Left-hander is pretty slick. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But as far as what we've done before this, you hope that's enough. I think if you beat Texas A&M on Sunday, everything's over with. You're 15-15, everything's good. But you're back in the doubt maybe a little bit. And you just never know what's going on in a committee. But I feel real good about us making it, even if we don't win the game. But that's through red and blue glasses, too. So we'll have to see.
Can you get a straight answer from anybody on that Governor's Cup game? And whether or not it is an SEC game in the eyes of the committee or not?
I was told a few years ago that it is. It counts as an SEC win. Whether it does or not, it is a significant win, obviously, over good program. In years past, it's been really good for both of us because both of us were up there.
Not really a good win this year.
This year, who knows?
Sub 100 RPI team.
Yeah, the irony is the Southern Mississippi win in Hattiesburg
much better
is better now than beating State in the Governor's Cup. But
it hurts right there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. It is what it is this particular year. But I was on WHBQ this morning. We were talking about this conference and how difficult it is and the expectations. You're trying to beat all these wonderful teams, and I even talked about Mississippi State. And you lose Landon Sims, and that's 7 or 8 wins. And so you mix that into it, it's a whole different world. We kind of marginalize injuries. We lost Kevin Graham for a long time, for a month, and that was painful.
There's games that you lost because he wasn't there.
Sports Talk Mississippi. You got time to have the voice of the Rebels, David Kellum, kind enough to spend a few more minutes with us. Going to be at the ballpark for a while tonight. People have different opinions about this event. We've talked a lot about it, about Mississippi State and their 2-and-out last year, and how that was good. They knew what they had locked up. There was nothing they could do to improve their seeding, and it worked out well. Ray Tanner in South Carolina used to always approach it that way. There are other teams that have taken the event fairly seriously. Ole Miss has actually kind of been one of those teams that not only has taken it seriously, but has played well through the years. What's your opinion on the SEC tournament?
I think competitively, guys get out there and they want to win. I mean, that's part of it. I don't think Mississippi State's kids didn't want to win last year. It was just one of those deals where things got south, and if anything else, Coach Lamona was able to take them back to Starkville and say, hey, look, we got to get going, and they did. I mean, it may have been a cold slap in the face. I don't know, but leaving that event last year, I was thinking, hey, man, what in the world is wrong with Mississippi State? So I think it is hard to judge this particular tournament. I think it's more important on trying to get in. Some people need to get in. Some people trying to host. Some people trying to be national seeds. All of those things. If any of that is up for grabs, and then for other teams, it doesn't mean a whole lot. But I still think people like to compete. We were just talking about LSU and State. When Polk was at State and at LSU, they always got to the finals, so they didn't come over here and kind of throw it. They wanted to try to win this event. So I think it's important. It's good to showcase the talent, too. I mean, guys want to be seen by scouts, and all that stuff's part of it as well. But, it is interesting how it means different things to different teams.
It's funny. Tennessee is the team that nothing that happens this week affects them anyway going forward.
I think David DeLucci said on the SEC Network, I've been watching it all day, and David's been on it more than anybody else because of the rain delays. Yeah. But he was talking about that, Tennessee just don't want any injuries, and you don't want anything to go crazy.
But they've got so much talent, they might come over here and just walk their way to Sunday in a championship.
We talked about that last week when they were playing Mississippi State. We said, could they go over there and maybe they're just like, look, we just want to get And I don't think with that team and their coaching staff, that's not their mentality. Right. They're out for blood every game.
But you hope that everything stays intact and they don't have an issue.
Don't want to get hurt.
And as far as that goes. But, this doesn't really mean anything to them except, how many times Tennessee won this thing? Here's a chance to win it and put a trophy in the –
They may never won
you get to add SEC tournament champion to your ring, So I think kids – they come over here and play. I mean, they'd rather be playing than sitting practicing somewhere. So I don't know. It does feel like, and I know we have a fan narrative and then there's a player narrative. I think the player narrative is, hey, we want to play. We want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe the third narrative in there is what coaches think about it. Like they're going to say publicly, we want to play, we want to win, but deep down they'd rather practice a little bit and rest some arms. Maybe.
Yeah, you take Georgia, for example. Georgia's probably in, you would think, without any trouble.
They were going on the road
lost
regardless.
A tough one. Yeah, they're probably going on the road. And so now they got a week to kind of charge the batteries. Is that good? Is that bad? Should you keep playing? Should you charge the batteries? I would think that as much as we go back home, we inter-squad a little bit, and we do live pitching to hitters. I remember some teams used to play another series if you got beat early in the SEC against some opponent. I think Coach Polk did that against Florida State one year or something. It's kind of crazy.
Really?
So, yeah. After it was like the tail end of this, when the season was, pretty much done.
Oh, when they didn't make the SEC tournament. Not everybody made the tournament, and so.
Okay.
I have to ask him about it. Y'all ask Ron about that. But I remember vaguely that they played Florida State one year.
Interesting. This has been it's been a weird year.
Yeah.
It's been a weird year for Ole Miss. Yeah. It's been a weird year for Mississippi State. In a lot of ways, it's been a weird year for college baseball, but specifically the SEC kind of all across the board in that you haven't really had dominant pitchers. The dominant pitchers you had have gotten injured.
Yeah. Right.
Offense is way up. Pitching numbers outside of Tennessee are awful this year.
I think that's exactly it. The teams that had really dominant pitching last year lost them, and the teams that had some coming back, they got hurt. I mean, the worst thing in the world, when I talked to Eli and them this morning, I said, for Mississippi State standpoint, you're sitting there looking at first base, and Landon Sims is coaching first base. That's not what you want. I mean, great pitcher. The others have gotten hurt throughout the year, too. Some of them have lost position players that were critical to the lineup and all. And we marginalize injuries. I know we do. But truthfully, if there was another Landon Sims, he'd be playing already, that kind of thing. And so I think that's definitely part of it. And as far as the pitching goes, but from an overall standpoint, it's been kind of light compared to years past outside of Tennessee.
You talk about weird, right? Preseason, Texas, State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Florida, all in the top 10.
Right.
None of them will host.
No, that's right.
State's not going to the tournament. Ole Miss, if they lose tonight, might not go to the tournament. That's weird. Imagine that in football. Imagine if we just next year, Georgia, Ohio State,
top 10 didn't
Alabama,
make a bowl game.
They didn't make a bowl game.
Let's do that. Let's do that one time and see.
Hey, I'm for it. This group would be for
we
that. We would be all over.
The Rebels and the Dogs can agree on one thing.
We did it. Peace in our time.
The top 10 are gone. See you, Bama.
Can you imagine that? And that's what we had this year.
That's interesting. It's very interesting.
That's what we had. Or in basketball, if Duke, Carolina, Kansas didn't make the NCAA tournament. I mean,
it is crazy.
How is that possible?
From a conference standpoint, this league humbles you. I mean, if you have any issues, just something here or there, you've got to be perfect. You got to play good defense. You got to hit the ball. You got to have really good pitching. If you're weak in any area, other teams expose it. These coaches are incredible. Scouting reports are incredible too, and you just can't win. It's hard to win.
So this last 3 weeks of the regular season for Ole Miss,
right.
they get the sweep against Missouri, they get the sweep at LSU, they lose 2 of 3 to Texas A&M, played really well in the middle game, didn't play great in the first or the third games. Is this team different? Did they flip the page? Did they turn the switch, or was this past weekend kind of like a regression to what they were earlier in the season?
No, I think we flipped the switch. I really do. Getting Graham back was important. We lost him for a month. And it took him a couple of weeks to kind of get it going again. And now he's not only hitting like Kevin Graham, he's hitting even better. I mean, he's been phenomenal.
22 hits in the last 10 games, I think.
Over that stretch, he's hitting 500. And so that's been really, really good. Kind of figured out Elliott. It looks like he's grown up a little bit and won a couple of SEC Freshman of the Week. DeLucia, outside of this past weekend, had been really, really good in the first game. So we kind of got that figured out a little bit. Chatagnier starting to hit the ball a little bit better, too. But you had the Missouri series. I think that was coaches don't want to hear but a must-sweep weekend to give you hope. If you win only 2 of those and you're still scrambling, I think that sweep kind of sent the message that, hey, we can get this done. And then to go to LSU and get a sweep, you didn't expect that. You hope to get a couple. Or maybe 1 there and 2, 3 in the last 2 weekends. So the cool thing, we got to Texas A&M. We'd already won 6 games. And so if you're thinking 14 back 3 weeks ago might be the magic number, are you going to get to 15? Even to have the opportunity to get to 15 on that third game was amazing. It was a tremendous finish. Go win at Southern Mississippi. Scott's got a great team. And so to go down there and win that midweek game, too, was really impressive. I just think we're playing better. I mean, that's the bottom line. We're playing better and kind of solved a few issues. But I do believe we flipped the switch. That A&M team is really good. Seeing them in person, offensively, they're incredible.
Tennessee has the reputation offensively because of the 623 home runs they've hit this year.
Give or take a couple.
Give or take a couple. That 2, 3, 4, 5 in Texas A&M's lineup
really good.
I don't know that there's a better 2, 3, 4, 5 in the league.
Really, really good.
Really good.
We booed Dylan Rock the whole weekend after the little incident with the Friday night, Thursday night game. We shouldn't have booed him. We should have left him alone. All we did was made him mad. He just kept
Richard was saying things from the announcer's box. I heard.
I didn't say a whole lot. I mean,
right down. He heard what you said though.
Richard's neutral. Richard, when he does, he's professional. When he gets on there. You don't think so?
I don't know. I think you're far more professional than he is.
Than Richard?
Far less Homer than.
Well, when he was doing radio for Ole Miss, I promise you, it was pretty Homer, but. But we have a license to be a homer.
Yes,
absolutely. I got the degree that says University of Mississippi.
There you go.
For sure. But, yeah, I think –
he's just trying not to blush.
I'm just letting you guys go.
I think we flipped the switch. I really do. But we'll see if we can keep it going or not. But really have played well last month. It really goes back to Arkansas series. We played them really well there and had a chance with a couple more hits maybe to take 2 at Fayetteville.
No doubt.
What were you going to say? Something you were like about to jump in.
I don't even. Who's Ole Miss throwing tonight?
Delucia.
Delucia's going tonight.
Yeah, he got chased early in the Thursday game. He got chased early.
It's an
inning
in 2/3, like 50 pitches.
50 pitches, so he should be fine.
Yeah.
He'll probably go pretty deep. His deal at LSU was amazing, by the way. Rarely do you bring a guy back the next day after 50 pitches, and then he goes as far as
I thought his
was
best
phenomenal.
game of the year was against Mississippi State. He was dominant in that game.
Pitched well.
Pitched a complete game.
But that was incredible. And Hunter Elliott's he's interesting freshman. Things don't bother him. He's kind of even keel. Gets off to kind of a slow start in the first, and once he gets it kind of figured out, he rolls. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll see how far we can go.
Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you,
Great to visit with you.
Great to see you, man.
David Kellum, voice of the
Somebody
Rebels.
screenshot that, me shaking hands.
There you go.
We need a picture.
Oh.